All right, this is August 3rd, 2013, Tyranny Busters rants. So what's the problem with America? What's the problem with the United States government? What's the problem with any government? Is there no problem? Things are hunky-dory. Everything's going down the railroad track like it's supposed to be. Some folks think so. A lot of folks don't think so. I'm one of those that doesn't think so. I'm one of those that thinks we're going on the railroad track and we're running out of track and there's a cliff coming up. So, what's the problem? There's not 100 problems. There's not 1,000 problems. There's only one problem. It's called plunder, legal plunder. A long time ago, man made laws to deal with plunder. Made it illegal to steal from one another. The 10 Commandments, that sort of thing. And so you can't take somebody's stuff. You can't take their life. You can't take their body and use it for what you want to use it for. Those are all areas of plunder, and they were made illegal. And laws were a good thing. Frederick Bastiat talks about that as being the basic purpose of law is to deal with plunder. Well, then the law started to get a little perverted. The law started to become an instrument of plunder. Instead of being an instrument of something that dealt with plunder, they created a law that actually plundered somebody of their right, of their life, of their liberty, of their property. And because it was a law, people respected it because they were used to respecting law, because law was something that dealt with plunder. So somebody establishes a law that says the government can take 10% of your production to benefit the orphans over here and the widows over here and the disabled over here. And people are going, well, law's got to be a good thing. So they started sanctioning plunder. And then once they started sanctioning plunder, those plundered tried to become one of the plundering class instead of being just always the plundered class. So everybody tried to jump in and get their fair share. And pretty soon people wanted to just live at the expense of somebody else. They started to think that they were entitled to get fed and clothed and everything else. And sometimes not even thinking about it as being at the expense of somebody else. So the system grew up around this, and what happens is you get more and more people who are interested in being plunderers, and they're not too interested in being the plundered class. So that's how we get to the point where we're at today, and where people even sanction plunder think it's a good thing. They think it's a good thing that handicapped parking spaces, I use this one, it blows a lot of folks away. They say, well, you do away with handicapped parking spaces? No. If an owner of a building or owner of a shopping mall or whatever wanted to have spaces for handicapped, that's a free market. They certainly should be allowed to do that, or not prohibited from doing that. But to force them to do that, to force them to give up some of their property because you think it's a good cause, well, basically you're just saying that the collective owns all the property, and the individuals don't, and it's up to the collective to decide what happens with it. Now, if you're going to accept this philosophy as being okay, you think now you're going to just argue about when it's okay to do it and when it's not okay to do it? Well, you're pretty much going to lose on that, because they'll keep finding ways to reward those under the socialist doctrine according to their need, and take it from people according to their ability, which is the reverse of a free society. A free society is you're rewarded according to your ability by people's needs, and not rewarded according to your need. And so that socialism ends up rewarding people for not producing, penalizes people for producing. Pretty soon everybody's sitting around and there is no longer an abundance, there's scarcity, and then your rationing comes in. Well, in our system, we got the Federal Reserve banking system which is a whole system of plunder, and we'll be doing that as another video. But people wonder, well, okay, how are we going to get out of this mess? I mean, even those people who understand this, they say, well, hey, it's a plundering society, it's a pirate society, I got to participate in and get what I can get in the meantime. Well, maybe that's so. But you know what? If you don't start working towards a system that isn't a plundering society, then all bets are off. The game's over, and things collapse, and the misery that will follow is something that probably it's hard to even imagine. But you could go interview people in North Korea and get a taste of it. But that'll probably be mild compared to what we're going to have. And it's all based on the philosophy of theft, which is anti any religion, especially America being a Christian nation, certainly anti-Christianity. A philosophy of theft just because enough people vote for it. So how are we going to get out of this mess? People that understand what I'm talking about, that agree with it, even they want something for nothing when it comes to fixing it, when it comes to their freedom. I can't find people to help me do a mail out or to spend $25 towards freedom. They'll spend money towards having physical enjoyment. Of course, they spend money towards their own survival. And say the small percentage of people, maybe it's 20, 30, 40% of people who are still producing their own survival when it comes to physical things or, enjoyment type things, are not spending anything when it comes to liberty. And liberty is the oxygen for all these other things. So, and it's it's being choked down by tyranny. Tyranny is the taking control. It's the ugly weed that squeezes out liberty. It's taking control of your right to be self-determined in what you do and how you live. So, but how many people are pulling the weeds of tyranny, spending some money doing it, or spending some time doing it? Wow, man, a whole society that thinks that they have to live. They have a right to have their liberty at the expense of somebody else. That attitude has to change. There is no fixing it with this politician or that politician or any other politician. We have to start condemning the philosophy of theft. Otherwise, no way out of this, and I'm waiting for the next spaceship to take me out of here. This is Mike Ben Watts, August 3rd, Tyranny Busters rant for the day. Thank you for listening.